Welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. It's October 3rd, 2025, and there is an hour to go to the cash close here on this Friday afternoon. Markets in the midst of a pretty wicked reversal, but really there is a distinct change in the order flow in the AI trade. It's turned decisively negative. I'm going to cover that and a lot more here on this TheoTrade weekend update. Look at the S&Ps for just a moment. Well, if you just turned on the screen right now, they're massively unchanged. But the truth is there's a lot more going on kind of underneath the hood, and that's exactly what we're going to examine here in the weekend update. The first thing I do want to cover is if we cruise over to the SPX, better known as the mother of all products, we are higher on the week. Again, decisively higher, distinctively higher. We're at the upper edge of the expected move, and this is kind of what you would anticipate in terms of trade. That is, for the most part, we got driven to the upper edge of the expected move and just kind of stalled out there. So why the cause for concern? Well, what you're going to see in a moment is, as I said, kind of underneath the hood. A lot of traders don't necessarily look at this, but there is, again, just following the flow. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm following the flow. There is, again, a significant change in some of the order flow, a change that we haven't seen as of late. And I'm going to display that. Now, regardless if we rally, into the close, we sell off into the close, it's my job here to point out what we have not actually, as I said, again, seen as of late. So let's kind of break down some of the trade right now. One of the first things I want to mention outside of the SPX is the advanced decline line. Take a look at the advanced decline line with me here in the S&P 100. Now, those of you that do follow a bit of what I do here at TheoTrade, you would know that I often look for what's termed correlation. And right now, and I do want to be very clear, we have 70 advancers, okay, approximately 30 decliners. It's a very positive advanced decline line. However, at the exact same time, the market it's like clawing to stay positive on the day, right? So that's pretty straightforward. At one portion of the day, we had over 85 stocks trading on one side of the marketplace. At that point, obviously the S&Ps were up a little bit, but so what's the change over here? Well, everything these days is market capitalization. If you take a look at some of what we would term like the mega market caps, your Apple still positive in the day, Microsoft just floating around almost flat, but Amazon, Google, Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, Broadcom, they're all taking a pretty sizable hit, okay? That's not what actually concerns me. But it's these large market caps that are causing the marketplace to get dragged down. Obviously, the NASDAQ is negative on the day, but only to the tune of 0.4%. So as I said a moment ago, cause for concern. As I said, don't shoot the messenger over here. What I'm going to show you right now is into the order flow. And when I say I'm just following the flow, so AI trade, and this goes a little deeper than AI trade. It's AI, it's some Tesla in here, okay, a few others that are critically involved. And again, this mega market cap structure that just keeps dragging us higher. Government shutdown, nobody cares until they do care. And until this trade does turn around, because government shutdown doesn't seem to be impeding upon big tech, or so it seems until now. So let's talk a little bit about following the flow. When I'm talking about following the flow, we're going to start with Palantir. Now, Palantir, large, decisive reversal. Look, it's no different than some of the price action we've actually seen back here, right? Some of the big price action, but there is a difference. We start digging into the order flow. When I'm talking about digging into the order flow, I'm going to cruise down here on Thinkorswim to option statistics. This is a tool that not only did I help build it, but absolutely love it. It's just instrumental in day-to-day what I do. So in following some of the order flow, what's some of the decisive change? The first thing I want to show you, okay, is right here under calls. So you've got actually the breakdown of calls that have been trading, puts that have been trading. Now, there's a breakdown of what we call traded to the bid or below, traded at the ask or above. Let me give you an example here on a call. So if there's a call option, in the call option, the market is 305, okay? at, for instance, let's get crazy. Let's say 310. It's just a 5 cent wide, marketplace. Okay. When you start seeing traded at the bid or below or traded at the ask or above, trade at the ask or above basically means you're just trading it right at 310. Trade at the bid or below means, okay, you're trading at 305. There's no in between. And with if we open up an option chain here, okay, start opening up an option chain, you're going to see, okay, in markets like in Palantir, there's a market right here of 210 to 224. That's a fairly wide market. I think everybody would agree. It's 10, 15 cent wide marketplace. And in that wide marketplace, look how many options are trading at the bid or below the or the ask or above. Huge. Like almost 1 million options have traded, okay? But like 500,000, well over 500,000 of those have traded at the bid or below or ask or above. Like, okay, so who cares? It just tells us, when I say the order flow is flipping over in here, calls are being sold at the bid or below. That's an indication of people are selling out of calls. They're just like, get me out, okay, and get me out. It's like market. They don't care. All right, they're just hitting the market. That's take the bid and sell. Whatever at any price. Okay, and that's exactly what's going on in here. But I'll be very frank in saying the calls, the order flow in here is negative. People, I've seen that movie before. That's just traders. They're like, oh, I bought calls and we're selling off, so I'm just going to get out of my calls. The distinct change in order flow comes by means of the puts. Right? You thought I was going somewhere, and I am. The distinct order flow changes. Now the puts are starting to pick up. And you see 200 and almost 40,000 puts are trading. Yeah, I don't really care about that. What I'm actually looking at over here is put sizzle. It's today's option order flow versus the previous 5 days option order flow. And you can see the overall sizzle. It's the overall options that are trading here is about 3.7, but the puts have really picked up. They're trading 4.4. What that means is we're trading over like 4.5 times the puts, okay, that we have in the previous 5 trading sessions. And you go, how do you know it's the previous 5 trading sessions? It doesn't say that on the platform, does it? No, but I actually wrote the requirements for this. So back 100 years ago when I worked at Thinkorswim, I haven't been at Thinkorswim since 2015, but this is a tool that goes all the way back to 2011, 2012 kind of time frame. And on this particular tool, they were like, well, what should the requirement be? It's today's option volume versus the previous 5 days. We're sizzling at 4.4. Oh, there's a distinct change. Because not only are puts being bought in heavier numbers, but we know they're being bought at the ask or above. That means, the trade is literally, they're buying puts. Okay, they're buying puts and they're buying puts in a big way. Yes, the number of calls are still outpacing the number of puts trading. That's normal because a lot of people are still bailing. But there's now, okay, we're reaching for puts. We're actually trying to buy puts. That's Palantir. It's actually forced the product down a little bit, right? People are just jumping on there. Let's look at Tesla. I can't exactly call Tesla the AI trade, or maybe you can, okay? It's a robot run by AI. It's a vehicle run by AI, nevertheless, okay? Some fairly heavy reversal yesterday in Tesla and some follow through today. We start looking at its order flow. And by the way, like Tesla, just time out, everybody. This thing trades. Like, holy crap, does it trade? I mean, this has done almost 5 million option contracts today. And when you start digging into the order flow, they're selling calls in here. That doesn't surprise me. Okay, the selling of calls doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is the puts traded at the ask or above are outpacing the puts traded at the bid or below. And here too, you're actually seeing much heavier order flow than the norm. This thing is sizzling at about 3. Okay, it's sizzling at about 3, which means like Tesla's been heavy trade the last couple of sessions, and it's still outpacing what's already been heavy trade, but almost 5 million option contracts trading there. It's staggering. Moving along, Meta's been under duress, okay, for quite a number of sessions. Meta's been getting, hammered a little bit. This thing smashes its lower edge of the expected move in a big way last week. It's now cracking the lower edge of the expected move this week. You have 2 consecutive weeks outside the lower edge of the expected move, okay? any distinct order flow changes in here. Look, things have already been negative in here. Once again, there's more calls being sold. I don't see tremendous put activity, though, in here. I do not see tremendous put activity, which doesn't surprise me because this has already been, okay, in the midst of sell side activity. I wasn't looking for much in Meta. Now, NVIDIA. Let's talk about NVIDIA, okay? The epic and the center of all the AI trade is right here, okay? Found in one lovely package. What do you got in this case? All right, calls being sold in huge terms, okay? But again, the put sizzle is starting to pick up. Now it's only at 1.4, but there's definitely puts, more puts being bought at the ask or above, okay? This has actually just been picking up though, in like literally, okay? We're talking like the last 2 hours of trade. In the last 2 hours of trade, but there's already been a little bit of a rebound in it. I am telling you though, the order flow has not looked like this at all recently. You got to go back months to see some sell side activity in the marketplace. But this order flow very well may be a bit of a precursor, if you will, to some bigger selling in here. Last but not least, okay, Amazon. Bring up Amazon. Okay, what do we got going inside of Amazon? Order flow in Amazon is not like crazy heavy. But again, the put sizzle is picked up. Okay, so we're definitely seeing more activity. We're not seeing, okay, wild and woolly put buying in here, but we are actually seeing calls being just smoked out of. Again, in all of these underlyings, which have basically reversed on the day, and we can even bring up, Broadcom in there, throw Broadcom in the mix. Broadcom, the options activity is not too huge, but the puts starting to outpace. Okay, it's unusual to see this reversal. Okay, means nothing. Like the reversal in the marketplace means absolutely nothing. But the distinct change in order flow is everything. So then you're like, but Apple is actually still up in the day. Okay, I agree. And as you start to examine some of the order flow in Apple, what do you see? Okay, absolutely nothing. They're still buying calls in Apple, still selling some puts in Apple. And Apple's at 2 times. So Apple, kind of the odd product out. Then you can, of course, come down to Microsoft. What do you got in here? Total slop fest. But in this total slop fest, there's put buying going on. Stock is still higher. There is put buying going on. Again, through and through, we've actually seen some of the exact same order flow. As I said to you, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that's it, okay? We're going down, okay? But it's really one of the first signs we've seen that this call buying activity, and what I'm actually referencing is the bell goes off in the morning, okay? And traders are showing up like Pavlov's dogs, okay, to be fed. Traders out of the gate each and every morning, okay, have been rushing the markets, okay, and buying calls. Even inside of Tesla today, bell goes off, boom, we explode higher. I mean, you got to realize we moved from, 43 to 46 in 1 minute, okay, and then just got absolutely crushed. And it's like the negative order flow from Tesla, okay, just kind of spread and overwhelmed a little bit. But now all of a sudden, we're seeing that negative order flow, if you will, proliferate. As of now, everything that you're seeing is isolated to big tech. Quite frankly, though, it's only going to take big tech, right? At the same time, we're still seeing these just wicked rotations into stuff like financials. And I'll mind you, no one has wanted to touch financials all week. Financials opened up very mildly. Some sell side activity. The financials almost hit their lower edge of the expected move yesterday. They have a bid back under them today. But what you're seeing right now is still an attempt to rotate. You're seeing the exact same thing, okay, in the energy sector, right? In the energy sector, no one has wanted to touch it this week. And yet, ironically, it's up today. So it's an attempt to rotate. And that attempt to rotate is keeping the advanced decline line positive, okay? In the midst, again, of everything, heavy negative order flow is starting to permeate into big tech stocks. This is going to be critical in early next week. Okay, government shutdown. Everybody's going to point to stuff that maybe happens over the weekend as catalysts. I'm telling you right now, okay, all catalysts aside, forget about the government shutdown. Okay, it does appear that trade is starting to position, okay, for a move inside of tech and its negative order flow at this point. All right, enough. I'm going to leave it at that. All I'm doing in this case, just following the flow. Gold. I got to talk about it again. I spoke about this a little bit on Wednesday night's video. Gold, okay, is ripping once again. Now, I'm bringing up auto expected moves just to show you breaching an expected move, ripping an expected move, hitting an upper edge of expected move, hitting the upper edge, breaching it. You realize how many weeks in a row. And at this point, okay, I'm going to stop with any commentary and just say, what does gold know that the rest of us haven't figured out yet? Is it inflationary? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Or is it something, deeper than that, where this is a duck and cover trade? But you better realize at this point, okay, that gold, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a rotation. Look, I thought, Bitcoin was supposed to be the new digital gold. Okay. Gold is up 40, almost 6% year-to-date basis. If you actually bring up, okay, in crypto products, specifically Bitcoin, I'll give you this, it has ripped off some of these recent lows. It's up like basically half of what gold is on a year-to-date basis. Gold's outpacing every major indice and every major like asset class out there by a wide margin. Wild. I mean, S&Ps, again, they're good for about, 12 to 14% on a year-to-date basis. Look around, like the financials up like 11%. Okay. Again, everything for the most part pales in comparison to gold. You got to start looking at individual equity products and tech stocks to see stuff moving like gold. It's very disconcerting because it just continues. Gold just continues to rip higher. Last but not least, we've been watching real carefully here what we call the China trade. China, of all your major, sovereignties and asset classes, China has ripped. China was actually up 40% yesterday, pulled back a little bit today. Okay, but Chinese markets possibly in trouble, and more specifically, okay, BABA, good BABA, possibly gone bad. So the BABA trade, okay, this one you better call into question. It seems to have reversed a bit. And you're like, it's down $1.20. I agree. Negligible, right? Okay. At this point, though, it too is showing some degree, okay, of negative order flow into the puts. Watch this also in early trade. Stuff like BABA, it's an ADR, American Depository Receipt, okay? It's not going to trade a lot of options in here, but there has been, if you will, like this really critical reversal that's actually played out. In fact, it's not just BABA. As I said, watch, okay, the FXI into early next week. There is negative order flow just starting to kind of bleed through in a lot of different places. And it's kind of, underneath, the belly of the beast that you start to see what's really going on. And that order flow, as I said, distinctly negative, even though the NASDAQ is down 100, it's 0.4%. It's nominal, okay? It's nominal until it's not. Last but definitely not least, we always cover a bit about the SPX. The SPX, largely unimpeded. The government shutdown, the talk around here at TheoTrade, the government shutdown, as it shuts down, everybody's like, see, nobody cares. Like, that's it. That's our tagline over here. Nobody cares. Okay. Nobody cares until they do. S&Ps are going to close higher on the week. How much higher? Well, I'll tell you one thing. The SPX, the upside of the expected move is about $87. For the most part, we're just off that. We're up about $85 in the week. Still, with 40 minutes to go to trade, that could change. That could actually change rather dramatically. Okay. I didn't think it was like, we have to hold out and wait for the close over here to talk about this. No, I'm telling you right now, before we close, there's negative order flow afoot in this marketplace. So you're coming off a week that had an $87 expected move. Okay. You're not getting any government data. We didn't get jobs reports. What's next week looking like? Well, this is interesting because nothing happened this week and we rallied. But the expected move is actually higher. Huh? More risk coming to the marketplace. So we are pricing slightly higher risk. We're seeing big divergence between tech and everything else, the attempt at the rotation, okay? Here's my real thought, and I'm going to give it to you whether you like it or not. I think you're going to see a continuation of attempt to rotate, okay, early next week, and that is we're going to buy financials, we're going to buy energy, Okay, we're going to buy everything but tech. Tech starts to pull back just a little further than it is. It's going to start to suck down all of your other sectors. It's going to start to pull on financials. It's starting to pull, okay, on the energy sector. Again, order flow in AI trade turns negative. You better pay attention. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.